When the world was burning and bombs painted the skies of Europe with fire, something humble kept soldiers and civilians alive. A strange, mud-built contraption that turned dirt into dinner. In the chaos of World War II, when cities were rubble and fuel was gold, one forgotten invention became a symbol of survival: the mud oven. This simple, almost primitive tool could bake bread in the middle of a battlefield, feed hundreds, and bring the smell of home to soldiers knee-deep in despair. And the secret? It wasn't metal, electricity, or fancy design. It was the earth itself. When food lines stretched for miles and every spark of fire risked enemy detection, troops and civilians needed something that could cook under impossible conditions. Metal ovens were heavy, fuel-hungry, and deadly obvious to enemy planes. So field engineers, part scientists and part magicians of survival, turned to an ancient trick, using mud, straw, and clay to trap heat. They sculpted these ovens straight out of the ground, a dome of wet earth baked hard under its own fire, holding heat like a stone heart. Once warmed, it could roast, bake, and boil for hours, even after the flames went out. Soldiers learned to make them in trenches, villages, and even cratered bomb shelters. When cities like Stalingrad, Warsaw, and London became smoking ruins, these mud ovens meant the difference between starvation and one more meal. The method was simple, brilliant, and absolutely wartime-proof. First, troops dug a small pit or mound depending on the terrain. They mixed the surrounding soil with straw, crushed brick, or whatever rubble they could find to make it stronger. Then they shaped the dome by hand. No tools, no nails, no plans. Just instinct and need. Inside, they left room for a single chamber, where the fire would burn and the bread would rise. Once the mud hardened from the initial heat, it turned into a solid, rock-like shell. The result was something shockingly efficient: a portable oven that could hit over 500 degrees Fahrenheit, using just sticks, scrap wood, or even broken furniture as fuel. When the firing was done, soldiers raked out the coals slid in their dough and sealed the door with a rock or tin plate. The heat trapped inside baked loaves in record time, often faster than conventional ovens. In bomb zones where every minute mattered, this was a lifeline. Bread, the real fuel of the front lines. Bread wasn't just food in World War II. It was morale. It was memory. A single warm loaf meant a reminder of normal life, a taste of home in a world gone mad. That's why the mud oven became legendary among frontline cooks and field engineers. In Italy, Allied troops used these makeshift ovens to bake bread with captured flour from abandoned mills. In North Africa, soldiers adapted desert clay to make sand-hardened domes that could bake flatbreads between attacks. And in Eastern Europe, families hiding in the woods or living in shattered homes rebuilt these ovens again and again, each time proving that survival could be crafted by hand. The bread that came out wasn't fancy. It was rough, sometimes burnt, sometimes misshapen, but it was warm. And warmth, in a frozen trench or a bombed-out city, could mean everything. What makes the mud oven so fascinating isn't just its wartime story, it's the timeless wisdom it carries. This was the ultimate off-grid solution long before that term existed. No electricity, no manufactured parts, no dependency on supply chains. Just soil, sweat, and fire. You know, it's a reminder that technology doesn't always mean progress. Sometimes the oldest methods are actually the most reliable. Modern survivalists, off-grid enthusiasts, and preppers still use the same design today. A properly built mud oven holds heat for hours, can cook multiple meals, and is practically free to make. Even in the 21st century, it outperforms many modern stoves in fuel efficiency. During World War II, this wasn't just theory. It was survival engineering at its finest. Troops learned to make do with the dirt beneath their boots, and that mindset, that ability to create function out of chaos, well, it might be the most powerful survival skill of all. When the world fell apart, they built from the earth. Think about it. When factories stopped, supply lines collapsed, and hunger crept into every home, people didn't wait for rescue. They adapted. The mud oven became a quiet act of defiance, a message to the war machine that no matter how many bombs fell, humans could still rise with their own hands. Every loaf pulled from those earthen domes carried something more than food. It carried dignity. Soldiers joked that the ovens were made of yesterday's mud and tomorrow's courage. And maybe they were right. Because when you've got fire, flour, and a little earth, you can rebuild a world, one crust at a time. Could it work today? Absolutely. In fact, building a mud oven is one of the smartest survival skills anyone can learn. With modern shortages, fuel crises, and natural disasters becoming more common, knowing how to cook without power isn't just nostalgia, it's preparedness. All you need is dry soil, preferably clay-rich, straw or dried grass, and a few hours of patient layering. Once the oven dries and hardens, it can bake pizzas, bread, or even roast vegetables with minimal fuel. And the flavor? Smoky, rich, and impossibly satisfying. It's history you can taste. You know, the genius of the World War II mud oven wasn't just in its design, it was in its message. When everything collapses, simplicity wins. And when the world burns, the earth itself can keep you alive. The mud oven stands as more than a wartime artifact. It's a symbol of human resilience. In the worst conditions imaginable, people found a way to turn dirt into sustenance. It's a story worth retelling not just for history buffs, but for anyone who believes in self-reliance and ingenuity. Because while bombs may destroy cities, they can't destroy the will to survive. And sometimes, that will looks like a dome of hardened mud, glowing orange in the ruins. Baking bread that smells like hope. So the next time you think survival needs high-tech gear, remember this. Soldiers once baked bread in bomb zones using nothing but mud and fire. That's the kind of wisdom that never goes out of style. If stories like this inspire you, make sure to subscribe to Wisdom from the Frontlines and share this with someone who loves learning real survival history. Because history doesn't just teach, it prepares us. And somewhere between the ashes and the ovens, there's a lesson waiting to be rekindled.